So I'm thrilled to welcome our panel of artists. It's, as I said, Barbara Morris, John Torrey, Marty Mead, and Cindy Miracle. And I'm just going to do a very, very brief introduction of each of them all in a row, and then we're going to jump into each of them talking about their work and their process, and then some conversation between all of us. So Barbara Morris, do you want to put Barbara on maybe Barbara's piece? I'm not sure what you want to be saying, or we could just look at you, Dave. That's fine. I'm happy to. Barbara Morris has a Master's of Fine Arts from UC Berkeley, and she is a painter and a printmaker, and she's lived in the Valley since the 1980s and taught life drawing and painting at the community center some years ago. Barbara has also been an art writer for numerous publications, including Art Week. And she's currently developing an art writing blog called Articultures, which will launch soon. So Barbara, I'm thrilled you're with us, and I want to hear about this. John Torrey was born in New York City. John has a master's degree in architecture from UC Berkeley, and his art training includes drawing at the Art Students League in New York and painting with Chester Arnold right here in Marin. John's work as an architect has taken him to many parts of the world, including 6 years as a city planner in the Gulf states of the Middle East. His drawings, paintings, and sculpture often have themes taken from his travel. All of his art, including his sculpture, has a basis in drawing. Also, a little aside, things you don't know about people, but John included that he has a dual citizenship with this country as well as the Republic of Ireland. I didn't know that about you, John.
Well, I'm just a radical, that's why I put it in there.
I love that. And our Marty Mead is an artist and teacher living in Forest Knolls. She studied glass arts in France and has been teaching at the community center and at the College of Marin, as well as classes in her own studio for over 30 years. Marty has a degree in expressive arts therapy and worked with at-risk children and teens as an art therapist. And she remains true to her heart, working only with images that touch her core. And Cindy Miracle has an MFA from Claremont College in painting and printmaking also. She teaches both at her studio in Woodacre and also maintains a studio at the historic ICB building in Sausalito, and has been a member of the arts community there for 20 years. Cindy has work in private collections around the country and has exhibited work all over the US and Europe. And she was just accepted at the art residency at Chateau Orquevaux in France for 2021. She said that she's inspired by travel, life experiences, and her love of opera. So, are we ready to go? Barbara Morris. Can we get Barbara Morris's studio on the screen and let Barbara talk about 6 minutes? And
right. Sounds good.
There you are.
Can you see me? I can't see myself, but I can see you. Oh, here I am. Hello, everyone. Hi, Anne. I'd like to
thank you so much for being here, Barbara.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to participate in this wonderful event. And thanks also to Larry and Dave for helping make the show and the event happen. And let's see, I thought we were going to be having our artwork up along with our image of ourselves, but I can just remind you perhaps, or I could, no, I'll just briefly describe as I had thought we were going to be doing the work that you just saw, which was 2 versions of a self-portrait. And they were called Selfie with Mask 1 and Selfie with Mask 2. Oh, great, we're getting them up. Wonderful. So this, could we go back to the other one? Yeah, thank you. So that one is the selfie with mask 1. And this one was the first one. And it was a more kind of upbeat approach to the COVID-19 pandemic and having to wear a mask, which I think is kind of the iconic image of this whole time, is the masked human and all of the stuff that's happened about masking and how it's become politicized and all the nutty stuff that's going on. But so this one, I look kind of like confident, and I used in my statement the word jaunty. I'm a little bit jaunty about the whole thing, and I've got my sunglasses on, so I look kind of cool. And then if you want to go to the next one, the selfie with mask 2, that would be great. Thanks. So yeah, this one, I have my glasses off, and so you can see my eyes have kind of a haunted quality, like I'm feeling a lot of anxiety and apprehension about what's happening, and I'm not at all confident. And the environment around me, as you can see, is kind of blotchy, and it's these kind of weird, like purpley, yellow, green colors that almost look kind of like a bruise or something. And so that's, I think with the two of them together, it kind of says something about my dual nature as a person and having like a positive side and a negative side. And I think it also applies to, humanity in general, that we all have our positive and negative nature. And our response to this nutty time, in which I think that if you're not frightened, then you're not really paying attention. So I think, being frightened is perfectly normal, but I think we can't let it overwhelm us. We have to remain positive. So that's kind of what this work is about for me. Regarding my process, it hasn't really changed that much. I didn't come to the studio initially. I took the sheltering in place very strictly and just stayed in my house. I have a wonderful studio in San Rafael on Woodland Avenue, and I love it there. But even with a few people, I didn't want to take any unnecessary risks. So I thought, okay, it's going to be, Gavin Wilson said, okay, 3 weeks, we're all going to shelter in place. And I kind of thought, well, I can do that. That'll be fun, or, whatever. But then, as we all know, it's kind of been a lot longer. And as it's kind of dragged on and on, it's become a lot more of a struggle just to not be around people. And I love working alone in my studio. I think artists in general maybe are solitary people, or enjoy solitude, enjoy working quietly in their studios. But even for me, this has been like way more solitude than I bargained for. And I really miss having lunch with my studio mates, because that's something that's I still am not comfortable doing that. But in turn, also, I think drawing and painting is what feels normal to me to do, and it also kind of makes me feel normal. So I'm very grateful that I have this art practice that keeps me going and sustains me during this difficult time.
Okay, we can
I've
either
got a question for Barbara.
go for it. Yes.
Yeah. Barbara, I'm an admirer of your work, and I like very much the understated quality of your portraits and your figurative work. Can you tell me how you arrived at this, for lack of a better word, style that you have?
I think it just comes out of the kinds of artwork that I've been attracted to the kind of simplicity and gestural nature of a lot of it. I don't know, some of the German expressionists that I love. I studied with Joan Brown at UC Berkeley, and she was very, her work had a profound impact on me, and the simplicity of that, and the gesture and the brush stroke is kind of the key to it for me, I think.
And what German expressionists do you like, please?
I love Max Beckmann. I'm drawing a blank. I have an abstract side also that I'm sure I was trained in the, the Bay Area figurative school. And so the abstract quality of the work is equally as important to me as the figurative. Um, Kandinsky is someone that I just adore. Um, I'm drawing a little bit of a blank on my German expressionist art history on the spot. Sorry.
Kirchner, perhaps, or
Kirchner, yes.
yeah, right. He's one of mine also.
Uh-huh.
Paul Klee, of course. Yeah.
Franz Marc.
Franz Marc, thank you. Thank you so much. So I feel like my artwork is still evolving and changing, and I never really know what I'm going to do from one visit to my studio to the next. And sometimes I'll think I'm going to do something and I end up doing something completely different. But I think that that's one of the wonderful perks of being an artist, is that you do have the freedom to do what you want to do rather than perhaps what might be expected of you.
Right.
Excellent.
Well, thank you for the question.
Unless there's another question for Barbara, we can move on to John. Any Cindy or Marty? John, how has this tumultuous time in the world been for your art your practice, your process, the theme of your work? How has it been for you?
Well, being an artist, my wife is also an artist, and she has her studio upstairs. I have mine downstairs. We meet for lunch and then discuss our art. And she has a certain way of doing art, rolled newspaper that is woven into images on a giant 8-foot by 10-foot loom. So I'm tasked with critiquing her work, and then she'll come downstairs and do the same for me. So it's, in a way, we've had it a lot easier than other people who, quite frankly, all of us here, people who are not artists maybe have a hard time knowing what to do with themselves. But that's not the case here. I mean, we are kind of bored, and like tomorrow we may make a run to the grocery store. Oh, it's like a little adventure, getting out of the house and doing something. But as far as my art itself, maybe you could bring up my two images. Okay, here's Bruno, an Austrian I met many years ago, and I liked his kind of crude masculine features. And the painting itself, I like what I would call messy paintings, where you move the paint around and there's some happy accidents that can occur, and then the image can often come out very quickly. Now, one of my big inspirations is the famous portrait artist Frank Auerbach, who's a German, became an Englishman, great friend of Lucian Freud's. And if you don't know his work, take a look. Auerbach, Frank Auerbach. And he does amazing things with paint. And apparently his style is to do a portrait in oils, because he's an old-fashioned guy like me. I don't know anything about acrylics, and I don't care to know. Oils. He scrapes the painting down at the end of the day, and then the next day start all over again. So it may take him a long time to get to the image. At any rate, I like his work, and maybe I can show you one other. I have a print of a painting that's now at Artworks downtown. There's a small work show, and this sort of tends to look a little bit like Frank's work, where the the features are a bit distorted. It's done fairly quickly. And if you're lucky, the image comes out well. So they selected that image. Now the second image in the show, Al Hid Bahrain, that simply means the Hid. It's a town, little town in Bahrain, which is a very small country in the Arabian Sea next to Saudi Arabia. And I just have a sentimental attachment to the Middle East, and this is like a facade treatment of that town, which I have to say the British town planners destroyed by putting a ring road around it and then putting a lot of infill housing right up against these beautiful structures. These are all mud brick or coral stone from the sea. They made them with coral stone from the sea, mud brick, and they sometimes use a plinth or heavy stone for the foundation, but they can go many stories. And the absolute master of hand-built structures, mud brick structures, is the famous Egyptian architect Hassan Fathy. Phonetic spelling is F-H-T-H-Y. And he's done beautiful structures out of mud brick, vaulted ceilings, domes, Roman arches, the whole works. But at any rate, I do have a strong attachment to the Middle East. I was just there last year visiting an old friend. And one of the reasons I got my Irish passport is that, nobody hates the Irish, right? Except the English, and very much vice versa. So the Irish passport it's like gold. You go in, usually often there are not even any visa requirements. You get automatic 2 weeks tourist visa. So, and it's like a safety valve. Now, when I was there, that was 40 years ago, I felt totally safe. There was none of this Islamic radicalism. The biggest deal in the Middle East in those days was the Palestinian issue, which is much less so nowadays. But I do have a strong attachment to the Middle East, and I do these sentimental paintings, but I also have a third area of interest, which are abstract pieces. And that keeps me quite busy. So I'll shut up now in case anybody has any questions.
Any questions from our panel? John, I'll ask you a question. So what makes for a creative work period for you? I mean, do you go through times that are sort of barren and then?
Oh yeah, sure. I've been struggling with an abstract piece now for several weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I did a first one, which I thought was going to be a flywheel project for a whole family of abstract pieces, but I'm having trouble with the second one. And you have to do really a series to have to validate what you're doing. You can't just do a one-off. So I'm kind of stuck with that, but I'll probably go back to it. And when I get stuck with an abstract, I go back to my portraits. And when I get tired of those, I go back to the abstracts, maybe throw in an occasional sentimental Middle Eastern landscape.
Well, I love the way you just said that, a series to validate what you're doing. For me, it's I start something and I have to push it to find out how much I can get out of it. But I hadn't understood that word validate, but I think that's really.
No, it's interesting because in science, scientists who come up with a medical or a biological theorem or approach to things, it's only when they can repeat the same experiment twice or have somebody else do it using the scientist approach. So I think it's very similar with art. You know you're on the right track when you can repeat something that's part of a family. And that's on the art side. I don't want to get too philosophical here, but it strikes me that it's similar to science in that respect. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was a little gem, and I think we need to move on to Marty Mead.
I'm here. Let's see. Well, thank you for including me in this, and I'm just in awe of the work I'm seeing. For many of you have taken art classes from me, but I'm all over the place because I taught cake decorating, stained glass art, glass fusing, and bead making using glass from Murano. I actually studied bead making there. And watercolor. And the watercolor was for my designs for the stained glass. I had the opportunity to study with Roger de Carrera in France, and that was the glass making. And then I ended up becoming an art therapist because I have been a foster mother for many children. And so all of these things, it's been hard for me to focus. But in 2008, I lost my retirement savings, as many other people did. There were different things. And so I had the opportunity, I guess you might call it opportunity, to install some torches and allow other people to come to work. But with that went my space to be an artist. And so when the COVID came around, all of a sudden I had the reality that I could be an artist. And it was a bit shocking for me. I did have a commission from somebody to do a landscape, and they didn't want a print. They wanted me to do an original. So as I began to select images, I focused on a beautiful landscape of Wyoming and the Wind River Mountains, and there was sage in the front. And as I was looking at that, all I could think of was Connie Smith and how she could make grasses that moved, and she always brought atmosphere into her painting. So I'm going to show you quickly the painting. I've got another screen here. So this is Wyoming. And it was in here that I was beginning to think, how in the world am I going to do this? And so I kept playing with water, doing a water.
Oh, where are we going?
Pardon? Can you hear me? Anyway, I was.
Yeah, let's
What's happening? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I began playing with washes and then resist using tiny little tools and everything, and then doing another layer and another layer. So I had multiple layers, but it was quite an experience because I was challenging myself, and all of a sudden I was getting excited again about doing watercolors. And so the painting Sea Ranch is when I was really into the brush, I mean, all of that shrub and everything, but how in the world to get the feeling of the wind that was going through this painting. So I did 4 major paintings in the matter of the first few months, and that was really good for me. And the thing that I loved is that I had to use music. I would paint with music because that would help me get a rhythm into this tedious work that I was doing in here and here. And then I had to stop because I had to start learning to teach with Zoom. And I backed off, and now I'm about to pick up my brushes and start over again. But the other painting that I wanted to share is Truda, my friend from Sweden. And what I loved about this photograph is that it reminded me of the Van Gogh painting of the potato diggers. And I was leery about starting this painting because it was too personal. It was just my friend. And I thought, well, if I put it out in the marketplace, nobody's going to be interested. But It's absolutely beautiful. I just love it. And I actually love everything I'm doing right now. And I'm grateful for this opportunity. And I also want to thank everybody from this panel, everybody that's out there, because I was a recipient of the COVID emergency funds. And that enabled me to continue to do my work and not be stressed. So that was a real big piece in this time. And I really am grateful for it. But
Thank you so much, Marty. That is a beautiful piece. We're going to have to
Thank you.
move on fairly quickly because
Yes.
the clock is getting away from us much faster than I expected. So
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but Cindy Miracle is somewhere out there. There you are. I'm sorry, we're having to move a little faster now.
Oh, that's okay. I just want to thank you all for organizing this and including me. It's a wonderful experience for me to be. I mean, Larry, I know Dave, but I've lived here 12 years. But I just feel so fortunate during this time of COVID sheltering in place to be having such a paradise to be in. I almost feel guilty because as an artist, I'm fine being alone, and just I have a studio right here at my home, so I've been able to work. I even had a commission in the beginning, and that got me thinking about these underwater images, which I never would normally have thought about, although I used to scuba dive, and so that was an inspiration because there's such an incredible feeling when you dive and you're underwater, and it's silent, and it's so foreign and so magical. So it was sort of a form of escapism since we were sheltering in place anyway, I think, to move in this direction. And also I found myself doing things I never would normally do as an artist. I started drawing more and just using simple graphite over like a background of a paint. Anyway, it's been a mixture because I almost, I mean, of course there's the sense of loss where you're financially, you're not being able to sell your work as well, and you're not able to teach and have income. But I also feel guilty because I have such a great spot, and thinking about all the other people that are, the tremendous suffering and loss of so many other people. And it's a somewhat of a challenge to focus, I think, as an art. I've noticed it's a little different. And so it's sort of a mixed response to being sheltering in place and all the, between the fires and the threat of, and the loss of power and just to, the political climate. It's very unsettling. So I'm making art, but I'm having a hard time really focusing on a body of work or really what I would normally do. I did start doing a challenge of making a little collage each day, just to kind of get me going, and that helps. That helped a lot.
Cindy, the pieces behind you really just beautiful. Beautiful.
It's very hard to photograph. Now that piece, well, it's black paper, but it's very textured. And so when you draw into it with pastel, you can see it. If you just work the surface, then you get this wonderful texture. So I actually did 4 of this size, and the 3 of them are sold and installed, and then this was one that was kind of an alternative one. But in order to do those, I did probably you see the 18-inch one behind there. That's like a quarter sheet because they are 36 by 36, and it's very heavy black paper. And so I just found I could really focus on drawing smaller ones, and then develop the bigger ones from that.
As a scuba diver, also, I love the description of the quiet of the ocean. And, you know, this is a quiet time in most of our
Yeah.
communities. There's just,
That's true.
it's really a different time. Mhm.
And John, I was interested to hear your experience in living in the Middle East. I've only traveled once to the Middle East, but I was in Jordan, and I went diving in Jordan, very close to Saudi Arabia. It must be the other side of the Iran where you were, but it was very magical, the Red Sea.
Yeah, I was on the Red Sea too, working at the new city of Yanbu,
Oh,
which is 300 kilometers north of Jeddah, the main commercial city, totally unspoiled. And you go down below and the reefs are, it's like a vast, colorful world. And then you
It
come
is.
up and it's all desert.
I know. Well, you know, so much of our Earth is actually covered with water. I think 73%. So, you know, there's, you know, definitely environmental issues going on with that. I don't know if you've seen this film, My Octopus Teacher.
Yes.
It's
Seen it.
really interesting film. Somebody pointed it out to me. I hadn't seen it before I did these, but I did just watch it and enjoyed it.
By the way, the painting in back of you, the artwork, it has a certain, to me, Paul Klee quality to it. Did you?
Oh yeah, I love Paul Klee. Yeah, I
Actually,
know. When you were asking Barb earlier about artists, I
Yeah.
thought of Paul Klee because he did those works on black. You know, started with black background. Actually this painting, this little painting is I started with gessoed it with black gesso.
Yeah.
When I love oil painting, but I often find I use it so thin. I don't know, I'm very frugal with it. And so if I gesso it with a dark color, then I'm forced to really apply more paint if I want it intensity.
Fabulous, Cindy.
So
Well, thank you.
Very cool.
my
Yeah.
one question, if we have time for, I was going to ask the other artists and any other artists listening, how do they deal with having all this artwork? Because I am fairly prolific right now, but I have I have no shows, nothing, no work is out in shows. I mean, I have some work in online shows, but it's sitting here in my studio. And I find it very discouraging. I kind of don't want to make more art, you know, because it's like, whoa, what am I doing with all this stuff? I don't know. I mean, I'm still making art, but I'm just wondering how you deal with it.
Any responses?
No, I was going to
We're
ask.
going to have some very substantial, I was going to say, we're going to have some very substantial solo art shows when this is all over.
I think that's a good point.
I've been doing some digital work on my iPad because I can do as many things as I want and it doesn't take up a big chunk of real estate. So
Yeah.
why not?
Has anyone had any luck with Facebook? They're often saying on Facebook, you know, you can
Yes, I'm selling a lot of my
put your art,
prints.
you can sell your art on Facebook.
Are you? Yeah.
I have, every time I've posted something, I've sold at least 3 prints on Facebook.
Well,
Wow.
that's great, Marty. Good.
Yeah, I sold a fairly large painting about 3 weeks ago on Facebook, but I think it's like a one-off, you know, and I'm trying to, this Facebook says that if you get serious about it and involved with Facebook, you can have your own art market right there. Skip the galleries, you can just do it yourself.
Amazing.
Just beginning
Well,
to look into that.
What's going to happen with the galleries? What's going to happen with the museums? I mean,
Yeah.
we have to wait and see. It's such an odd time to know.
I think it's going to be a whole different game, even when we come out of this. I
Yeah.
think it's a lot of galleries will have closed, and I think it did. Yeah, I'm working on getting my website better for sales because I never wanted to put prices on or really sell through my website, but that's what a lot of people are doing now.
I'm going to close this up fairly quickly, Cindy, but that was fabulous. I also wanted to say something actually about my own process a little bit, because I think it's a little different from everyone else's. Jack, would you put the very last image of the whole show, number 59, on the screen? And I just wanted to say that in the first month of the pandemic, I had to cancel an upcoming art residency near Paris. And then I also had to cancel teaching in an art workshop in Indonesia. And I was anxious about that, making those decisions. And then I was watching way too much news. And I had two dreams that included me wandering around in Hieronymus Bosch's painting called Hell, which is a hellscape. And then the dream, I was wandering around in that painting. And I have dreamed about being in famous paintings before, but those dreams were terrifying nightmares. So early on, I was kind of paralyzed in terms of working. I was just unable to really get going at first. And my unconscious, our unconscious is completely linked to our creative work. But since then, I've been able to turn off the news and get some work going. And I've been working on the theme of endangered species, loss of diversity. Really, the theme is loss or fear of loss. And despite living here in paradise, the pandemic, the fires, the smoke, months away from family, the power outages, most of us have experienced loss through these last 8 months in some way or another. But I just wanted to end it by saying that painting as a practice always helps me, no matter what the theme is, to write me again, as it keeps me right in the present moment like nothing else I've ever done. And I was thinking about when we're way beyond this period of time in the future, it's going to be interesting to look back at this period of time and at the creative work that's being done and has been done all over the world. Obviously, we're not able to see its impact yet, but art will always interpret and define it for us in phenomenal and surprising ways. So,
Beautiful.
Well, thank you, Anne.
giving it back to you guys. Yeah.
Thank you for putting this together, Anne. Wonderful show. And I hope we do more of these.
Yeah, I do too.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, we feel very inspired. I've been getting some chats and texts that this is something that we should really try to do at least once a month. So let's give a standing ovation to Anne and Larry and Marty.
Yeah.
Once a month sounds a little daunting to me, Dave.
Well,
Yeah.
one thing, if we all stand, we won't be able to see each other.
Right.
But I do want to mention really quickly also Jack Sayers, who's doing all that cool tech stuff without any glitches, and Rebecca Teague, who did a whole bunch of the work behind that. And Alexa Davidson also gave us a lot of consultation that was very valuable. Anyway, you may not be seeing them, but they were all contributors to this.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you, Larry. And you are just, Larry and I have worked together for close to 20 years, and we could not have a better arts events and visual arts coordinator. We're so proud of this programming at the community center. And so, as we now turn our attention to Connie Smith Siegel and her legacy, we have some just unbelievably exciting news and about the future of community center arts programming. And I'm going to hand it over to wonderful Valley artist, good friend, Kay Carlson. So hand it over to you, Kay.
Hi, everyone. That was just amazing. And thank you for putting this show together for everyone. I want to say that Connie was a treasure, a true treasure of the San Geronimo Valley for 40 years. And most of you know her by now. You may have seen her by the highway sketching the blossoms. And so I'll talk just a little bit about her, and then I'll say what our relationship was, and then announce this exciting news. So Connie was a full tenured professor at the University of Colorado, and California became her destination. Through her husband, they came here, and much to our benefit, Connie was, first of all, a community celebrator. She was always thinking about community and communion with nature. So she began sensory awareness work with her husband, and that continued to be a thread throughout her life and the books that she wrote. She began a potluck group with her students, I being one of them, and that potluck group was instrumental in many of the ideas that she wanted to try out on the community, such as her color theory. Her sensory awareness led to developing using color to express and to heal as well. She was a practitioner of nonviolence. She became a peace activist in the 80s. So there were many groups that Connie was a part of. And some of you may know those groups. Some of you may have seen her marching down a railroad with her wonderful banners. So her work in the Valley, and particularly of the Valley, has been celebrated throughout West Marin. And you can go to Tony's Two Bird Cafe right now, and it has 25, the restaurant is showing 25 of her paintings, which are about to be switched out to a new show very, very shortly. I was fortunate enough to share many roles in Connie's life, with friendship being the first, which means that we understood one another's values and visions. We exchanged being one another's teacher, student, colleague, exhibit planner, community advocate for art. And the best part of that was that we traveled and painted together outdoors to the Southwest and the Sierras. We were especially witnessed to the West Marin landscape, going out to Devil's Gulch. It gives me just great joy to see her now, her work and her vision coming in this way to the community center. This piece is a gorgeous oak tree. She contributed many paintings to the Blueberry Ridge cause when that was happening. This piece is, of course, out at West Marin. And her pastel work has that layered thing happening that Marty Mead was talking about, the wind. Connie was always after the envelope of light. And you'll see a picture of her later on here in a backpack. This is Lake Lagunitas. This is one of my favorite images. Just taking in the grandeur of her ability to translate the essence of landscape. She invented the easel. She was an inveterate backpacker with her supplies. Of course, this is out at Devil's Gulch, that creek. We would wander that creek constantly every year, and we had our favorite places to paint there. That's a beauty. Of course, Devil's Gulch before the trees fell in. That was a favorite theme of hers. And the atmosphere that she so loved in West Marin. She had 2 shows while she was still alive in January and February of this year, and she was celebrated at both of those shows, Toby's and the San Geronimo Center. And we all got to see her revel in the showing of her work. She apparently had a message back in 1985 that she wanted to create a living legacy. Her trustees have found a note referring to that. So this is going to be very interesting to see what comes out. Here, the Sierras, of course. Some of her her beautiful, beautiful works in that kind of environment. Her trees and blossom trees are a thing to behold. And she worked in many different mediums. There she is at Hat Creek. I took that photograph, and it shows her joy, that big smile in working outdoors. There were some fishermen just down the stream who got very upset with us for making noise because they were trying to catch fish. And there she is with her backpack full of joy again. So I'm announcing today that Connie's estate will be leaving a very generous gift to the San Geronimo Valley Community Center. Her Woodacre house will be sold, and the proceeds will go to her Artist Trust to be used and distributed as Connie wished, at the discretion of the trustees. Carol Griffin and Dahlia Commissar are here with us today. And would you like to highlight them? Would they like to say hello? Okay, possibly not. Okay, so there is Carol Griffin, and she and Dahlia are leading a masterful they've just organized Connie's studio for all these months, and are making sure that there is a lot of work in that studio, and it will be available for sale. I'm amazed because talking about artists having a lot of work, Connie had a lot of work in her studio. So you'll be seeing it hopefully around the county. We hope to place it where it is well loved. And is Dahlia there? Yes. Dahlia.
Yes.
There you are. Okay. So we're a team. We go out there and go through her things and revel. It's really visiting Connie's studio right now is like visiting her. The work speaks so loud and clear. So let's get back to this gift. What's happening? So a substantial share will be distributed to the San Geronimo Valley Community Center. The unity of art and healing was a major theme of Connie's artwork, teaching, and her writings. Her wishes are that this legacy gift be used toward encouraging artists, art education programs, with a special focus on art and healing. The funds will be able to be used to promote educational and artistic events, space, and resources, with additional projects. I love this. Connie always loved projects. The trustees and the center board and the staff will collaborate to determine and implement these purposes. The Artist Trust will retain a substantial share of the trust for its stated purposes. And here's where the work comes in: to document, safely store, distribute, donate, sell, and exhibit Connie's artwork and her 2 published books. Connie's 3rd book, which is available to be read in PDF form right now, will be published, and other literary projects are possible at the discretion of the trustees. So with the purpose of the Artist Trust and the major distribution to the San Geronimo Center, Connie's legacy of art and education and healing will be ensured going into the future. There you have it.
Thank you so much, Kay, for this beautiful, beautiful presentation about her.
I just want to also say that her loss is huge. And I think of her every day, and her legacy has a sense of humor wrapped up with community, wrapped up with this vibrant, living connection with nature. So I hope you all get to go to her website as well, which has a lot of her work.
And Kay, we should, there is going to be 2 weeks from today at the same time, 4 p.m. to 5:30 will be a memorial for Connie. And our community centers, working with Carol, Dahlia, the trustees, Kay, and what will be getting the word out about that, how to get the Zoom link. Again, we'd be so thrilled to be honoring Connie in person, in the Valley Room with her incredible 1981 mural right in front of us. But this is where we're at right now. And Kay and Dahlia, Carol will be getting the word out, getting the Zoom link. But we hope everybody can join in on Sunday, November 15th at 4 p.m., where we'll be having a memorial for Connie. And I just, as executive director of the community center, speaking for our board, I mean, we are just overwhelmed and so honored for this gift. And we're going to deliver and really work together, with the Artist Trust, work with our artist community to really, really honor Connie's wishes. And with the the community center, we've been so fortunate to have developed over the last 3 years our endowment that through the Deepening Roots campaign, and now this gift. And I think all of us know, everybody, artists, nonprofits, all of us personally, navigating the pandemic, without this, financial stability, it can be incredibly difficult. But we're on really great footing here. And I just wanted to bring Rebecca Teague in. Rebecca is our fundraising coordinator and work really closely with Connie and Connie's trustees about this legacy gift, and just get minutes to talk about legacy giving.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming. This has been incredible. I am hoping this turns into a monthly sort of art salon. This has really been extraordinary, actually. And yeah, totally, we were pretty blown away when we heard that Connie wanted to do this. I got to know Connie through talking about making this legacy gift, and I got to take some walks with her in Woodacre, and it makes me kind of mushy to think that we get to be a part of her legacy moving on. She's a huge part of the art community in the Valley, but her circles go outwards to a ton of artists. Many people I know about her. So, we're inviting all of you to join Connie and think about making a legacy gift to the community center. A legacy gift really just states that you cared about our community and the community center during your lifetime and wanted to see something like that happen for you. It's really a great way for the community center to look ahead and thrive. And on our website, we have lots of information about it. And if you have already thought about the community center in your will or trust, please let us know. We'd love to celebrate you. We could celebrate you quietly as well if you'd like that. But I will put this in the site, and please read about legacy giving. And I'm just really grateful you all are here today.
Great, thank you, Rebecca. And we're thrilled to announce today too, we've been working on it for months and months, but we have relaunched our website today. I just saw it about 10 minutes before the gathering. And so we're going to have a lot more ability to share within the community through this website. And I think we're going to be getting this art show, onto the new website. So you'll be able to.
It's up. It's up already. I've put the link a few times in here. You guys can go at your leisure and enjoy this incredible show.
Yep.
Well, everybody, I just really, Anne, thank you so much. Mark,
Such a pleasure.
Cindy,
The best crew I've ever worked with on any project.
well, Barbara, Kay, thank you so much for sharing Connie's gift, and to Dahlia and Carol. You know me, I'm just about at a loss for words right now. I'm just kind of overwhelmed with gratitude and love for our community. And I know here looking out, it's 5:32 and it's getting dark out. So here we are, going into the winter months. But I just love all these smiling faces, and the energy I'm feeling here is really taking us, into earlier days and into the week we're going to be going into. And I just could not appreciate being with anybody else with this group of people right now. So you're totally welcome to hang out. If anybody has any questions, I'll stay on. And you're also, if there's any thoughts and questions you have about the art show, the legacy gift, please, contact me either by email or give me a phone call, or if you want to check in with Larry about our arts programs. But this is just an incredible gathering, and we're just so incredibly, deeply appreciative to every one of you, and helping sustain our community center through a year unlike anything we ever could imagine. But we're all together and we're all going strong. So thank you so much, everyone. And I'll just stay on. If anybody wants to hang out, you can unmute your mics, and we can hang out and talk.
You are doing a great day. You're doing great. I'm here because I'm always here to support you, buddy, man.
Okay.
Woohoo!
Alexander.
Me too, Alexander. I'm with you.
Oh, good.
Well put.
And thanks one more time to Anne, Barbara, John, Marty, Cindy, and Kate.
Yay.
Great job, all of you.
Thanks, Sander.